Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Community. I'm my bestie and business partner here, Maria.
Hi.
And we are going to talk about something that's kind of juicy, which is client red flags.
Woo.
Because we have worked with hundreds of business owners in some capacity between High Vibe Women and the Social Snippet.
Yeah.
Hundreds and hundreds, actually.
Yeah.
And, want to think about, we have also worked with many service providers. Contractors, we've hired people. So we want to talk about what you want to watch for before you sign a contract, because often what can happen is you can be really excited or enamored by money. And then later, you ignore gut feeling, and then you're like, oh, I can't believe I ignored that. That was way crappier than I thought. And so often, when you're an early stage business owner, especially us, we did this, you say yes to everything at the beginning.
How could you not? It's like, especially when you're just getting started, you're like, I want a client, I'll do anything. And then we learned the hard way that is not the way to do it. And some clients are not worth any amount of money.
Yeah.
And I think that's why this episode, although spicy, is important.
Yeah. And honestly, toxic or misaligned clients, they end up costing you way more than what they pay.
And not only money, but
Your peace,
your sleep,
your mental
health, your teammates and team members' mental health. The list goes on. It's actually insane the effect people can have.
Yeah. And it's you have good intentions, right? And actually something that's been a big mental shift for me is I kind of have been working under the impression everybody has good intentions. This is a new thing I'm trying, is that because you and I, we do a lot of collaborating with people, but we've been done dirty.
No, we've been done so dirty.
And
one day we'll write it in our tell-all.
Yeah, in our tell-all. We won't use names. Everyone will have an artificial name, but you'll know. You'll know. And we've been done dirty, and because we've been done dirty, we tend to, when people piss us off, we're just they done. We're just over it.
They get the social snip.
Yes, the social snip. And now I've decided that I'm trying to assume that people aren't trying to ruin our lives, and that they're trying to be, the best that they can do. It's hard, honestly. I'm not perfect.
I know. And I know we kind of touched on this in I think it was our 4-year anniversary episode, but at the same time, you just can't trust everybody all the time.
Yes.
You can't necessarily take people at their word for when they promise things. You do have to be a little bit careful. I feel like that was part of the mistakes we made. But I'm excited today because we're going to chat about some things you might want to look out for.
Yeah, big discerning energy here. So, okay, the first thing is they don't respect boundaries from the beginning. And because I do our discovery calls and the contracts, often the first sign to me is someone rewriting our contract. When they send me a rewritten contract, not just added on or want something adjusted, no problem. I actually am yeah, respectfully, no, all good. But when someone rewrites a contract, I'm oh, they've done this before.
What about when they no-show 3 times to the discovery call?
Yes. So actually, and that was something before where people would no-show, and then I would email, and then they would book, and they'd no-show again. Now I'm kind of if you no-show, I'm not connecting with you. Yeah. And even recently, we had a scarce season a few months ago, and it was the first discovery call that had come in a little while. I was and so I went and I ran to it, and the woman no-showed, and then our assistant emailed her again, and she booked again and no-showed a second time, and then emailed and was I'm so sorry, I missed this, my bad. And I was kind of oh, fine, okay, fine. And I got on the call with her, and she did not need our services.
Perfect.
And I was this was a massive waste of our time, right? So, but you start to see that they don't respect boundaries. Maybe it's texting when you don't want something, or Ben's favorite when they ask a question and he emails them back, then they don't email back anything. He tries to answer or ask a clarifying question, he never hears from them again. So, or even things asking for quick calls, oh, can we jump on a call? Can we jump on a call? Sometimes that's totally fine, but often I find that people who don't trust the process, that can be a red flag because they just don't respect the boundaries.
Yeah, and I think it's important that you honor your way of working and your own systems and processes in your business. And when clients are immediately trying to break that or work around them, or don't really want to follow your process, that lack of respect is definitely a red flag, because these things continue, right? Initially, I think we want to grant people or give them the benefit of the doubt, give them a bit of a buy. But often how these things start is how they continue.
Totally. The other thing is when you're doing your discovery calls or the sales process, they push back a lot on your pricing. I am a lover of a negotiator. I love when women especially negotiate because, sometimes things are just the price they are. Like, you're not going to go to a grocery store and be like, I'm only paying $172 for this apple. It says $185, but I'm only paying $172. Like, you're not going to do that. But sometimes with services, like, I'm easy on being like, okay, the podcast launch is this much or whatever. People are like, how much this much? I'm like, this is what we will take out of it. Like, this is the price of it. But if you don't need these things, I'm happy to be kind of flexible. But when people, won't pay their first invoice or they say they'll pay later, you start to notice like these like trends. And then I always can kind of tell when a client's a bad fit, like, or there's someone we're gonna have to let go when like payments come super late or they're hard to get a hold of when it comes to payment. I just like when you see a lot of pushback on pricing, that can sometimes be a red flag.
Yeah, and I think also it's important to make sure that when someone is trying to negotiate, you honor your pricing that feels good to you, right? Like,
Yeah.
we've seen, like, have done this in the beginning, like our friends, where you just want to win the client. So you're willing to like do something at a price that doesn't necessarily feel good to you. And then those are always the clients that scope creep and want you to do more than they initially asked for. And then it becomes such an unequal energy exchange that you end up being so resentful, and it is just a disaster. So honor your pricing and what you feel like your work is worth.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Okay, this one's like a really funny one because at first I thought this was okay, and then now I'm kind of like, oh god, every time it happens, I'm like, nope. They talk badly about past service providers.
Oh my god, so funny. We used to be like, oh no, all those social media managers did them so dirty. Like, oh my god, feel so bad for them.
We don't feel bad for them.
They are the problem.
Yeah.
They are the problem. And then we are next in line on that list of people they talk bad about.
What's funny is I'll use an example. Obviously, I'm not going to use any names, but the first client we ever fired, and it was very difficult. I remember one of the things she said to me, it was a woman I knew, and the woman I knew had done her social media, and she goes, I had a horrible experience with this person. It looks like you know her. And I kept tight-lipped about it, like I wasn't going to say anything. And then when this started to go awry, I reached out to the social media manager, and I was like, hey, I think I messed this up, but like, I don't know how to work with her. I know you guys work together. And this social media manager was like, oh my God, like I actually went to therapy after working with her. Like I was traumatized. I actually refunded her for all the work we had ever done together because I needed to get away from her. She was messaging me constantly. She was messaging, and I was like, oh, I'm down this path, and it's just easier for us to cut bait today. And that was such a good reminder because I actually like love the service provider and I still think she's excellent. But like even just as a reminder, like not everyone's always going to love you. You're not always going to be everyone's speed. We've had 80 clients, right? We've had more than 80 clients. And there's people whose speed we haven't been, right? They don't like the way we organize things. They don't like our process. They're looking for basically a full-time employee. That's not what we provide people. So like that's okay. And sometimes it's also remembering when these people are complaining about other people, there's probably more context that we're waiting on here.
Totally. Yeah, I think it's important not to just take their story as like the total objective truth and reality. And also like people can have bad experiences with service providers. Like that does happen. But how are they talking about it? Like are they like, I think you can get a sense of the vibe based on like the words they use to describe the story. Like sometimes they could be like, I've worked with someone like this in the past and I had a couple challenges and I'd love to like discuss how we could like maybe address those on the front end. Like if they're speaking about it really professionally and in a way that feels good, like totally fine. But you can kind of tell when someone's like, just wants to like slander someone and make it into sort of a therapy session about all the dirty that's been done to them. And then you realize that they are the problem.
Yeah, 100%. Not all people are meant to work together.
Yeah, totally.
Like, not all people should be married.
Totally.
So it's like, it's the same thing. Okay, another one. They want everything right away. This is the worst.
I hate this.
This one's the worst. Because we actually come across this kind of often where people will wait a long time to sign a contract and then they sign and then immediately are like, I filled out the onboarding form. Like, I'm wondering when we can book. And I'm like, it took you 3 months to sign this contract. If this takes me 48 hours, you're lucky. Like, we're quick. We have a lot of automations and stuff now. So, but they want everything right away. And so I think like a lot of that's on us, right? To be setting expectations of like, I'm always very honest, our onboarding process takes about 2 weeks before you see any content. That's what that looks like, It takes me a little bit of time to place you with the social media manager. Like, it's not just like, boop, boop, like, so I think that's important, but often that can happen where people have really, really unrealistic expectations or unrealistic expectations of your outcome. Like,
yes.
Am I going to be a podcast sensation overnight? Are my downloads going to triple? Like, whatever that looks like in terms of your niche. But yeah, unrealistic expectations.
Yeah, I think setting expectations is huge. And when people aren't willing to abide by what your expectations are, like that's the red flag, right? Because like we have our phones in our pockets. Realistically, we could be contacted at literally any moment of the day ever.
Yep.
Is that going to make you a good business owner to be like on call for your clients at 3 a.m.? No. So setting those boundaries for yourself and then making sure your client respects them is huge, because if somebody can't, wait 24 hours to hear back from you, then they're like probably not the right fit for you. Probably just going to drive you crazy, to be honest.
And we just want to very quickly acknowledge, we know how hard it is to say no to clients, like especially when things are feeling scarce or you're early on. I actually, like, we had a really scarce season and I got on the phone with someone and I was like, we could do this, but like, I don't think we're well positioned for it. I don't think we're going to see them be successful.
Yeah.
And I pass them on and they love the person that they work with. So I think it's just really knowing that, like, you just have to have a lot of self-trust that something better is coming for you. Okay, so the last one. You're feeling anxious before the kickoff. So if you're feeling anxious about the client, or you're worried, or you're doing a lot of explaining about it, it's probably not a good fit.
Yeah, you have to trust your gut. And a lot of the times your mind will like try and rationalize why you should do it when your gut's telling you not to do it. And I mean, sometimes you got to learn this one the hard way, because you got to just like look back and be like, okay, my gut instinct was right on that, and I need to not like, let my mind kind of override that. But you can just sometimes feel it. You can tell. And if you're anxious and if you're like feeling some type of way about it, that's a very clear sign from your body that something might be really off.
Yeah, no, totally. Okay, so what to do when you see a red flag? A few things. So one is like, really, like, don't panic about it. Like, if you see it, like, sometimes we can be wrong about it. Like, we've had some clients where I've been like, I don't know. And then I actually set really good boundaries and they follow them. I find too sometimes, like, and not to be like too like mad about it, but like our experience working with men too, like very confident, pretty assertive, like very different than a lot of the women that we work with. So sometimes I can be like, okay, I think this might just be a personality trait and we'll work together well, or it doesn't feel good. Like, you're able to find that balance, becoming and like really creating like scripts and boundaries in advance. So making sure you have those scripts of like, you ask for a discount, or, scope creep, or late payments, like late fees. Like, that's something that we still haven't implemented in our business. And like, people sometimes use this as like a bank for a month, like, and that's not right? But like, and that's something we're always working on. We've actually come a long way, but a big piece of it, I would let things roll for months, because I would be like, I don't want to ask. Like, I'm scared to, they're getting all the reminder emails. Like, why aren't they paying? And now I'm very confident in saying, hey, you haven't paid and now it's time.
Yeah, because you have the language to do that, right? And you're prepared with that. I think that's super important.
The other thing is also, if you've got a team, like empowering them to let you know early on if something's wrong. So that's something that like I think we've done a good job of. Is I always tell the social media managers, like, I would sooner rather lose a client than lose you. So like being honest about like, what's working, what's not working. And also, we have in the past had social media managers where it's been a few clients that they've lost and we're like, actually they're the problem. Like, and so being able to note that. Documenting everything. So always having a really solid contract. So doing that as you can.
And a paper trail.
Yeah, 100%. So lastly, what do you think is a green flag in a client?
Oh, I mean, I think this probably looks different depending on like what industry you're in. I feel like for us, it's people who, one, really value us as experts, who trust us, who trust our expertise, and two, who are like willing to put in the work themselves and take that accountability themselves. Because that was the one that the red flag about them wanting like quick answers, like kind of triggered me on, is like, the street doesn't go both ways for those people.
Yeah.
It's like they take 3 months to email you back, and then when you take 10 hours to email them back from that, you're the problem, right? Like, so
because they think that because they pay you, you work for them, and that it's really like we work with you.
Yes. So I think making sure the person, green flags, like they want to collaborate and they take accountability for their side of the project, because it's not just they're paying you and you have to do everything. You need stuff from them.
Yeah.
Even if you are quote unquote doing everything, you need their logo, you need their headshot, you need their brand colors, like you need their input, you need to meet with them, like whatever you need, they need to be able to actually provide that in a way that makes the project doable and work well, right?
Yeah, no, love that. The other thing is like, pays fast, pays on time, like is appreciative for the work, says thank you.
Is
like,
nice.
Yeah.
Is a good person.
Like, we go so far. We have a client that's like a higher profile client. And sometimes there's some like last minute work that comes up. And typically we're pretty strict on some of the guidelines around it, just because we have such a big team. There's so many moving parts. they are so nice. It is so hard to say no. Like, and they're always like, we really appreciate this. Like, this has been so helpful. Like, you guys are so imperative. They send us tons of referrals. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, you guys want that done? Like, no problem, because it's a two-way street. We're in community together. And so I think that that's a really big green flag too, is like, you have a good relationship. We had a client stop working with us that we worked with for 2 years, and like, it felt like a breakup, like in the best way. It was like we were both going to separate colleges. Like, they had an internal marketing team, and they were like, it's actually time we just do this. And we were like, and they're like, but we love you guys, you're the best, right? So it's like really just knowing, like, you know, you can have these great relationships, and it doesn't all have to be like, you know, sad, but green flags are like, you have like rapport and a great relationship.
Yeah, and I think the last green flag is like you feel good about it. Like you have that gut feeling or intuition, whatever you want to call it. Like you have a good feeling about the client and the person, and you're excited to work with them.
Yeah, so good. Well, this was juicy. Yeah, we kept it vague, which I liked. Again, our memoir is coming.
No names were dropped here.
But it's so funny whenever we bring up an example, both of us know exactly who we're talking about or what we're talking about. Anyway, but thanks, Maria, for coming on and talking about this. And for those of you who are listening, we'd love to hear what your, your client red flags, green flags are. Hopefully this helps you know too. Like, we run $1 million business, and we have tons of, imposter syndrome around some of these conversations sometimes, and setting those boundaries can be really hard for us too. And so, we're always kind of working on it, always sharing our learnings.
It's always worth it in the long run.
Amazing. Can't wait to hear from you guys.
Bye.